Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is part 3 of a series of discussions on prayers of Prahlāda Maharaj. The prayers of Prahlāda Maharaj we're not going to finish. There's too many. Or there's many. Not too many. There's many. So I'll have to continue the next place I'm going, which is Detroit. A little different climate there than down here. So we'll continue there. Yesterday, there were a few questions that had some homework assignment connected with them. And one of them is this one. Srinivas asked a question. You can see the question on the screen. And I did a little research. So here was his question. I said I would research. Krishna's own son Samba was against him and had very bad traits. He used to disrespect Krishna in front of others as well. Samba's behavior got so bad over a period of time, particularly after Kurukshetra war, that Balaram had to kill him. I would like to know, even after being benefited by Krishna's close association, why Samba didn't change and why he couldn't get rid of hatred for Krishna. Now, this was in connection with Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva placed his hand or paw on the head of Prahlāda Maharaj, and instantly all contamination was gone, as if there was any contamination anyways, but no, all contamination's gone. So with just a touch of his hand, the question was, why this difficulty with Samba? Some of you are with us, you remember the question. Well, a little research. And somebody's going to have to ask Srinivas what he's referring to, because there's no such thing. There's the opposite, and the opposite comes in chapter 68 of Canto 10, where Samba, who is the son of Jambavati, one of Krishna's principal wives, of the 16,108, she was one of the 8 principal queens. And there was just the opposite. Just the opposite was Samba was in a difficulty. Duryodhana had captured him and tied him up like a criminal and put him in prison. Ugrasena found out. Ugrasena in Dwarka. Ugrasena was furious. So he called Balaram and said, bring him back. Do whatever you have to do, bring him back. So Balaram came to Hastinapur. It's a whole chapter dealing with Balaram spoke very respectfully. He was received very respectfully in Hastinapur. And then they asked him, what's the cause? What has brought you here? And he said, I'm carrying a message from Ugrasena. And what you've done with Samba is not appropriate. So please release Samba, and I'll take him with me back to Dwarka. And they were furious. The Hastinapuris were very angry. Who are you, and who is this Ugrasena? And he has some title because we gave him the title. We're going to take that title back. He has no authority over us. And they went back into the capital city. So Balaram decided courtesy doesn't work with people who are like animals, but animals can understand a stick. So I'm going to use a stick. And his stick was his club, and his club got really big. And with his club, he started pulling the entire city of Hastinapur into the river. And it was like an earthquake, and everyone panicked, and they came out, oh, we're sorry, we didn't, please forgive us. Here's Samba. Thank you very much. And in the question, even during the or after the during Kurukshetra War, he, Samba, was a great hero. He was a great fighter. He fought great generals on the Kaurava side, and just the opposite. There's no trace. So a little request, somebody that knows Srinivas can ask, could you give a reference, please? What's the scriptural reference to say what you said happened? Because I don't know of such a reference. So that's the little research on that one. Then there was another question that required some research, and that was Lakshmi Nṛsiṁha said yesterday evening that he read somewhere, he thought it was Nṛsiṁha Purana, but somewhere it says who Prahlāda was in his previous birth. So I said I would research it, and here it is. This is Bhanu Swami's translation of Bhakti Sandarbha text, or Anuchhed 152. And this is just a little part. It's not commentary. This is Jiva Goswami's writing, translated from Sanskrit to English. It is related in Narada Purana that Prahlāda in his previous birth, in quarreling with a prostitute on Nṛsiṁha Chaturdasi, fasted and stayed up all night. As a result, that accidental devotion, he became Prahlāda. There's some further, there's glories of the place, that is a temple, and because where they were was an abandoned temple where he and the prostitute were, and they had some quarrel, and so they both, without intention to glorify Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, they fasted on Nṛsiṁha Chaturdasi. So benefit by even unknowingly observing Nṛsiṁha Chaturdasi. And one of the conversations that Lakshmi Nṛsiṁha and I had was that different translations, although the text may be valid, like Bhakti Sandarbha, without question, the text is just fine. There may be different renderings of the same text, and one of them is maybe not just fine. So you have to not only know the source, but who's the translator from that source. And here's another example of that. The same Bhakti Sandarbha 152, Shivaram Maharaj, who's very wonderful Vaishnav, in one of his writings, Nava Vraja Mahima, makes a reference to the same Bhakti Sandarbha, only it mentions differently. Close, but the source is not Narada Purana, it's something else. In Brihad Nṛsiṁha Purana, it is said, this is Shivaram Maharaj quoting, quote unquote. It's not my quotes, it's his in his footnotes for this book. In Brihad Nṛsiṁha Purana, it is said that in his previous birth, Prahlāda Maharaj had an argument with a prostitute on the holy day of Nṛsiṁha Chaturdasi, arguing with her all day and night. He neither ate nor slept, and because in this way he fasted and kept all night vigil on that holy day, he became a great devotee of the Lord. Unquote. From a different source. Now, both of these personalities, in my estimation, they're laudable. They're trustworthy persons. From the same text, you have different translations. So, what's the message from our discussion yesterday? Be more than careful. Be very careful. Be meticulously careful when you read something. What's the source? Or you hear something. I mean, I'm sharing something with you. It's quite common for for me to hear. Maharaj, I have a question. Somewhere, I can't remember where, I heard, then fill in the space. And then something in relation to that. Not like, is it true, but, therefore, da-da-da-da-da-da. So, wait a minute, let's go back, and I heard somewhere, and I don't remember what. I don't remember who, I don't remember what, I don't remember where, but something like da-da-da-da-da. So when it comes to the reason for emphasizing this is, as we go further in Krishna Bhakti, we're going to hear things. Even we'll read things. Even we'll read things from seemingly reliable sources. Lakshmi Nṛsiṁha made a mention of one last night. There's a book that he was speaking from by Raghunath Das Goswami. Manashiksha is a well-known book. And he liked a certain passage from that book, or the translation of that book, and he was repeating it. And then Mother Urmila informed him, you obviously don't know, but the translator who translated that book from Sanskrit into English fudged. They made up something that's not in the book, and then you're repeating that something that's not in the book because you like it. So I didn't know that the person who made the translation, he didn't, last night Lakshmi didn't give the name, but the person is a devotee, and devotee that knows enough Sanskrit to translate Manashiksha from Sanskrit to English, and he's a devotee. So that's not good enough. That was a lesson from yesterday. And, you don't have to be challenging, but, before you don't be gullible either. Be, careful. Because if it's once something, it's like what Srinivas heard about Samba. Where's that from? Or, without the tone. What's the scriptural reference for that, please? And if there isn't a scriptural reference for that, be careful. And having doubts about it and speaking those doubts about it, or something, or reaching conclusions about it, be careful. And as we go forward in Krishna Bhakti, we'll find what I'm sharing with you now, it's a fact. Sometimes you're going to hear something that's not, it's worthwhile, not in a challenging manner, but in a careful manner. What's the source? That was the topic yesterday. And just for clarity's sake, I've made a little research, and you found it while we were sitting there yesterday. Here's a place in Prabhupada's Bhaktivedanta purports where he's stating very clearly Prahlāda Maharaj is Nityasiddha. So what's the question of a previous life for Nityasiddha? They're Nityasiddha. They're not going to go messing with prostitutes in an abandoned Nṛsiṁha temple. Nityasiddhas don't do stuff like that. Therefore, how do you reconcile, on the one hand, Nityasiddha, and on the other hand, what Narada Purana says, or Brihat Narasimha Purana says, whichever is the correct reference. And the answer to that one is simple, and that is, in different days of Brahma, the Prahlāda, who is the Nityasiddha, may have appeared, as he did as the son of Hiranyakashipu and did what he did, and so forth and so on. And then he returned to the spiritual world when Nṛsiṁhadeva finished his pastimes, and Prahlāda finished his life. He returned to Vaikuntha. in the Vaikuntha planet where Nṛsiṁhadeva resides eternally. And he appeared for purposes of pastime. And then in another day of Brahma, not the same Nityasiddha Prahlāda, but a different person appeared as the son of Hiranyakashipu and performed this pastime, very similar, not necessarily identical. And that's a further detail. That is, in different days of Brahma, different avatar forms of the Lord appear and their associates. And the pastimes, using Prabhupada's words or message, the theme is essentially the same. The details differ from one day of Brahma to the next day of Brahma, the next appearance of the Lord and his associates. And there's details that are different. The bhava is essentially the same, and the details differ or may differ. And it's not, if you find a situation in your study, you find over here it says this and over there it says that, there's one possible explanation, different days of Brahma, with some variation in the different days of Brahma. And don't be upset. Or, if this is right, then that's wrong. And if that's right, then this one's wrong. It can be different days of Brahma, just with variations on the theme. Clear? Before we launch, before we go to the next set of Prahlāda's prayers, the beginning of Prahlāda's prayers is because all the verses up to text number 7 was before is preparation for him to begin offering his prayers. There's some background. And then starting this morning, we're going to hear his first prayer, text number 8, 9, and 10. So anything on the topic we just discussed? And if not, we'll move on. Yeah.
I think, and I'll confirm with Srimad Prabhu, the Samba reference, that's shown in one of the TV series.
It's a TV?
It's TV.
Oh.
Where he was...
Okay, that's enough. I was either something TV or a comic book, one or the other. Okay. There's Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, Ugra Nṛsiṁha, ready to. A close-up of his ears are protruding up in the air, just like a cat, or a lion. Before pouncing on his prey, their ears go up, their arms go out. They're ready. Red eyes. Here's this little story about Nṛsiṁhadeva's red eyes. Simple. The devotee who is the Nṛsiṁha Pujari became concerned. People come to see Nṛsiṁhadeva and they see him with these red eyes, reddish tinted eyes. And so he thought people might be intimidated or afraid. So he made an arrangement for replacement eyes to be made, and then removed these eyes and put the other eyes that didn't have the reddish complexion around the whites of the eyes. And the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. So the Nṛsiṁhadeva worship is done behind closed doors. It's not just a curtain, it's closed doors. And it's just one person, because it's one deity and one person's service. So he was rendering his morning seva to the deity, and he heard a voice. Return my eyes. And he thought, maybe I'm hearing things. And so it happened. And it must have been in Bengali, because this is a pujari that's Bengali speaking. So how do you say that in Bengali? I don't know, but Nṛsiṁhadeva knows. And, 3 days in a row, 4 days in a row. So he went to Jananivas and said explained what his experience was. So Janadivas asked him, "Did you replace his eyes?" He said, "Yes." He said, "Put them back." So he put them back, and he stopped hearing the voice. So whether people are afraid or not afraid, he wanted the eyes that you see. So that's why we see the eyes he likes. So here's a painting that we saw already. This is Prahlāda walking up this long, many steps to come before Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva. And as we've been doing these 3 verses, 8, 9, and 10, they have color-coded phrases. And this phrase, sattva, sattva is mode of goodness. Ikatana, gatayo. So, ikatana means singularly minded. Eka. Singularly, the demigods are being described as sattva nikatana gatayo. This is Prahlāda speaking, and he's saying the demigods, they're singularly dedicated to the personality of Godhead. And he, in contrast, is ugra jate, born from bad mother-father, or at least bad father, ugra jate, and with no good qualities. So it's a contrast. Now, those of you that were with us from the beginning, the very first day, we had this discussion that these prayers, now we're beginning the first of his prayers, they're the theme of these prayers, these 3, and then starting this evening, there's emphasis on, in approaching the Lord, there's no material qualification. Or material qualification may be a disqualification. No material qualification required. And Prahlāda is saying that he's, by compare contrast, he has no good qualities. Ugra jati, bad qualities, disqualification. And the demigods have all qualification. So how am I supposed to pacify the Lord when the demigods were unable to pacify the Lord? And the goddess of fortune was afraid to go before the Lord because of his anger. So here's the translation. How is it possible for me, who have been born in a family of asuras, to offer suitable prayers to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even now? All the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma, and all the saintly persons, could not satisfy the Lord by streams of excellent words. Although such persons are very qualified, being in the mode of goodness. Then what is to be said of me? I am not at all qualified. Pura, here's the phrase, pura gunayar. No good qualities, but the demigods have all good qualities. So on the left side of that painting, it's meant to indicate various devatas. There's Lord Shiva in the front, right next to him is Lord Brahma, and right next to Lord Shiva is Narada Muni, and this one, that one, the other one, unable to pacify the Supreme Lord. So let us hear. A Vaishnava who is fully qualified to serve the Lord still thinks himself extremely low while offering prayers to the Lord. As it's a sign of qualification is humility. For example, Krishnadas Kaviraj, the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, says, Jaghai Madhai Haite Muni Se Prapishta Pirishera Kita Haite Muni Se Lagishta. Prabhupada quoted this many times. Thus he considered himself unqualified, lower than the worms in stool, and more sinful than Jagai and Madhai. Now, he wasn't any of those, but he was feeling himself unqualified. So, abject humility is a characteristic of a pure devotee. They're not just like low self-esteem and walking around morose and thinking, boo-hoo, and woe is me, and they're not like that. But on the other hand, they're not proud. I'm a special devotee, and I'm qualified this and that, and the opposite. So he, Prahlāda, is such a pure devotee. And therefore, like Krishnadas Kaviraj, who was super, super, super qualified, is thinking himself not qualified. Not only not qualified, but bad, lower than a worm in stool, more sinful than Jagai and Madhai. But Jagai and Madhai were saved. They were saved. Coming up is Lord Nityananda's appearance day. We'll hear, if you haven't already heard, about the personality of Godhead, particularly Nityananda, saving Jagai Madhai. It's a very nice section of our scriptures. Lord Chaitanya not only saved him, but Lord Chaitanya freed them from all their sinful reactions and spoke in 6 different times to all the devotees that were assembled. Never consider them to be sinful. All their sinful reactions have been completely cleansed away. I have accepted them. So do not criticize. Once someone has been lifted by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda, exactly as has happened with Lord, with Prahlāda Maharaj, he should not be considered as the son of a demon, although he was the son of a demon. But he was completely freed from all of that. And similarly, Lord Nityananda, by extending Lord Chaitanya's mercy to others, they're no longer in the condition of fallen, although they may have been. In the case of Jagai Madhai, more sinful activities they perform than someone can perform in a lifetime. They've done them all and worse. And they're completely cleansed by the mercy of Nityananda, or the representative of Nityananda, as Srila Prabhupada performed that function. Very special. The teaching in Prahlāda's teachings, or his life, in Lord Chaitanya's life, and in Prabhupada's way of lifting people from a dark place and bringing them to a position of brahmanas and great Vaishnavas. Again and again, that was his mission. Here's what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes in his commentary on this verse. Oh, remarkable Lord! It is hard to understand what quality you see in me that brought about such mercy. One's possessing sattva is not the cause of your mercy. What then to speak of a person possessing tamas? The devatas and sages' minds are completely immersed in sattvic dharma, jnana, and austerity. I am immersed in adharma, ajnana, and material enjoyment. And here's from that phrase in the verse, ekatana means exclusive tendency. Ekatana, exclusive tendency. So he, Prahlāda, is saying, I have this exclusive tendency for degradation, and they have the exclusive tendency for elevation and purity. Simply by praising you is not a cause of mercy. They praise you with streams of words, which are fresh, cool, sweet, and pure like water, and which were embellished with ornaments and literary suggestions, Puraganai. But they were not able to make you satisfied with them. You are satisfied with me, though I am born in a family possessing great tamas, ugrajate. So what he's moved by is bhakti, not by material qualification. That's the theme of these first 8 verses of his prayers. Material asset, material quality, pile it up and pile it up and pile it up. It doesn't bring satisfaction to the Supreme Lord. Here's Jiva Goswami in his Krama Sandarbha. Prahlāda expresses his lack of qualification by mentioning others more qualified, namely the Devas. By streams of words predominated by Karma Yoga and Jnana, the Devas could not properly worship the Lord. So they had these material assets, but the material assets were inadequate to pacify. Because he was angry, he was roaring, and everyone is afraid, and that's why the demigods asked him to come forward. Next verse. Now, the color coding, I'm focusing on those words. Bhaktya tutosha Bhagavan. So that means the devotee is able to satisfy Bhagavan. Tosha and tutosha. Prahlāda Maharaj continued, one may possess wealth, an aristocratic family, beauty, austerity, education, sensory expertise, luster, influence, physical strength, diligence, intelligence, and mystic yogic power. But I think that even all these qualifications, by all these qualifications, one cannot satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, one can satisfy the Lord simply by devotional service. Gajendra did this, and thus the Lord was satisfied with him. So he wasn't even in a human form, he was in an animal form. And not elephants aren't said to be particularly intelligent. He wasn't a gifted scholar. He was an elephant. But because he offered himself in full surrender to the personality of Godhead, he was saved. Here's the painting, one of the many paintings, when this crocodile was chomping on his leg. Elephants have a liking to take bath in a pond of water, a pool or lake or something, or river. And then after bathing, they come to the shore and throw dust on their body. I've seen it. So when he was taking his bath, here comes a crocodile, and he was hungry, so he chomped on his leg. And for a long time, hundreds of celestial years, they fought. It's a long time. And he was becoming weaker. And the crocodile was becoming stronger. And then he offered prayers to the Supreme Lord from his heart, because before becoming an elephant, he had been Indradumna. He had been a king. So he knew the Supreme Lord. And so in eloquent prayers, he started offering prayers to Lord Vishnu. Very nice painting. There's other examples. Let's see if you can guess what this particular example is. Somebody knows? Yes. Yeah. Can you narrate a little bit? What's being displayed in this scene here?
So Krishna Bhagwan was in a race when the Kurukshetra, the Mahabharata war supposed to go on, and Arjun Maharaj came to ask for help, and Duryodhana also came to ask for help. But Duryodhana sat near the head of Bhagavan Krishna versus Arjuna sat down on the floor near his feet because he was very humble. And as earlier mentioned in the class, he was like trying to, or he was like saying that he was not qualified even to sit near the feet of Lord Krishna. And then when Lord Krishna woke up, he saw first Arjuna, and so he offered him like, how can I help you? Then Duryodhana said that, oh, I'm also sitting over here. I'm here to ask for help. And so Lord Krishna said that, yeah, but I saw Arjuna first, so I'm going to ask Arjuna that what you are looking for. I have two options. One is, on one hand, I will be the only one without any weapon, I will be participating in the war. But on other hand, I have my Chaturrangi Sena who will be participating. And so Lord Krishna asked Arjuna first, and Arjuna said that, Prabhu, I want you to be on my side. And so Duryodhana was relieved that, okay, now I will get the Chaturrangi Sena of Lord Krishna. Please correct me, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Nice,
Pranam.
nice. Well done. Okay. Here's another one that's really easy. Someone from the ladies' side. What's going on here? Ladies' side.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So when Krishna went for the peace,
He went for the what?
for the peace before the
The
war.
peace, yeah. Peace
So
offer.
peace offering, and Duryodhana at that time offered him to come over and have food at his place,
Yes,
but he denied it. So he said, there is no love and I'm not hungry.
yeah,
And then he went to Vidura's home because he is a devotee.
yeah.
And over there, the wife of Vidura, she was so overwhelmed with the emotions and she was serving him with love. So when she was serving banana, so she was just offering to him the banana. So she was removing the peel and she was so overwhelmed with the emotions. And then she didn't realize that she was throwing the peel. She was throwing the banana and then giving him the peel of the banana.
And then?
And then he, because he's bhavagrahi, and he accepted it with the love and he was eating it with lot of love.
So who is that other person in the background?
And Vidura came and he saw that she is not offering the food but just the peel, and then he was telling, what are you doing? So
And then? How did it end? Come on, you know.
I thought that's
You don't know?
that. Like,
Oh, come on. Two things.
yeah.
When three things. When Vidura was, according to Mahabharata, Vidura, although he's part of the royal family, he wasn't given the privileges of the royal family, so he was out of the home accepting alms. And when he was out accepting alms, this is when Krishna arrived. And there was nothing, they were poor, they had nothing in the house but bananas. So she offered the bananas, but within her enthusiasm. So then when, according to Mahabharata, when Vidura came back, he came back with one other person. Who was the one other person? Starts with an N. Narada. So the husband asked, what's going on? And Narada said, it's very obvious. Krishna is accepting the bhakti, not the peel. And then Krishna spoke. I'm eating the bhakti. I'm not eating the banana or the peel. That's nice. So, Krishna accepts bhakti. But now, question. Weren't the demigods bhaktas? Here's what Jiva Goswami writes. Wealth, etc., do not satisfy the Lord. What will satisfy him? He shows by example. The elephant satisfied him by devotion. But the demigods were also devotees. Though Brahma and others were devotees, he was not satisfied by their bhakti. So Krishna's a little particular. He likes Shuddha bhakti. Nice. This Jiva Goswami is giving us some insight into this pastime. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes as follows. This is a nice commentary. You are not pleased by offerings of great wealth or other things. You are not pleased with birth. In a good family, strength of the senses, splendor, power, exertion, or karma, jnana, or ashtanga yoga. How can I satisfy you? By bhakti, the Lord was satisfied. The past tense is used to indicate that one need not search out any further proof. Now in Sanskrit words, there's a little something that those of us that aren't Sanskrists wouldn't pick up on, but Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur certainly knows, and the past tense means something. This is your nature. Also, the extraordinary power of bhakti is indicated. I have a trace of bhakti by the mercy of Narada, and this must please you. He's not speaking an abundance of. So here's the final verse for this morning session. And you see in big red letters this description of things that are offered to Krishna that aren't so attractive to him. Similar to the previous verse, just expanding the concept. If a brahmana has all 12 of the Brahminical qualifications as they are stated in the book called Sanat Sujata, but is not a devotee and is averse to the lotus feet of the Lord, he is certainly lower than a devotee who is a dog-eater. And what devotee is dog-eater? It's kind of conceptual. Most devotees aren't going to be dog-eaters. But even if there were such a thing, a dog-eater devotee, but who has dedicated everything, mind, words, activities, wealth, and life, to the Supreme Lord, such a devotee is better than such a brahmana, because the devotee can purify his whole family, whereas the so-called brahmana, in a position of false prestige, cannot purify even himself. Now, verified by you just keep just doing these nice things. They're nice. It's not saying they're not nice, but they're just not sufficient to purify one. And when one is purified, then one can become impure in devotion. So let's hear what our acharyas have to say about this. Here's this book, Sanat Sujata. In commentary, it mentions these are 12 vows: knowledge, truth, mind control, sense control, hearing, disinterestedness. I think that's vairagya or detachment. Shyness, tolerance, lack of envy, sacrifice, charity, fortitude, and peacefulness. Qualities by which the Brahmana is known. Sanat Sujata, like as in the Sanat Kumar. So this looked like a little bit older than one of the Kumaras, but that's okay. That's the cover of this book. Sridhar Swami, we heard this the other day. Sridhar Swami, great commentator of the Bhagavatam, was a Nṛsiṁha Bhakta. And he writes that these qualities without bhakti produce only pride, which is true. You have this, that, and the other thing, 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 or any one of them, or a combination of them. Without bhakti, then one is proud of this thing, that thing, the other thing, the other thing. And one thinks highly of oneself in false ego, because the absence of Krishna bhakti means false ego. And pile any amount of good on top of false ego, and it's not good anymore. Or pride destroys everything good. So beware of pride. Or better, amplify your devotion, your bhakti, because that will take care of this pride situation. Here's Jiva Goswami again. What's Krama Sandarbha? I mentioned this, but I'll do it again. Jiva Goswami wrote different commentaries on the Bhagavatam. All of our Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas loved Srimad Bhagavatam as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu loved Srimad Bhagavatam and understood it as the best, or the natural commentary on Vedanta Sutra, which is a summary of all the Vedas. So Srimad Bhagavatam is that. So all of our acharyas extol, honor, celebrate Bhagavatam. Jiva Goswami, being this prolific writer, he wrote several commentaries on the Bhagavatam. I mean, try writing a Vyasa Puja offering. And it takes a while. So what to speak of a book? What to speak of 3 commentaries on the Bhagavatam? One of them we mentioned, Krama Sandarbha. That is verse by verse by verse commentary on the Bhagavatam. And then another is the Sat Sandarbhas, which is topic by topic, 6 topics, extracting messages from the Bhagavatam and analyzing them in great detail. And then there's another, Gopal Champu. Gopal Champu is Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, Krishna's pastimes out of Vrindavan. 2 parts, part 1 and part 2, or A and B, and Gopal Champu. Then he wrote another commentary, which was, here's the detail. He was such a scholarly person that Sanatana Goswami, who had written a commentary on 10th Canto Bhagavatam, requested Jiva, could you edit my commentary on 10th Canto Bhagavatam? And if there's a mistake, you please let me know. Jiva Goswami accepted that service with the qualification that he could also write a commentary on his commentary. So he did. Now, there's no indication, did he find any discrepancy, but he wrote a commentary on his commentary. So there's 4. He loved the Bhagavatam. So here the message is, without bhakti, some people are proclaimed as outstanding in many qualities. And we look at some persons, they're this or that or the other. They're very austere, they're very truthful, or they're very learned, or they're very something or something or something. They're very wealthy, they're very charitable, they're something. And those are nice qualities. But this verse rejects them if it's without bhakti. Or flip, someone who is born in a very unfortunate circumstance, a dog-eater family, but becomes a devotee, they're to be extolled and valued greater than the demigods. They're not like in the category of demigods, they're above the category of demigods. But with a small condition, they've dedicated body, mind, word, just exactly as the verse says. They've dedicated everything to the service of the person. So they have some asset. It's not mine. It's dedicated to the service of the Supreme. So we all have some asset. An asset doesn't just mean money. It can mean whatever it means. Some young devotees, I know, they're good at drawing. It's a gift. They're good at drawing. You know, some of the rest of us, you can't draw for beans, but some children, they like, and they're good. You know, it maybe children's style or caliber, but they like, and practice, and somehow they become superlative because Krishna gives a gift and you use that gift in Krishna's service and it starts to blossom. That's bhakti. Through the agency of bhakti, it becomes something fantastic. But supposing somebody has some gift, but they don't have bhakti, well, it doesn't hold a candle to one who has bhakti, even if their birth is in a very unfortunate situation. So that's like the theme of these first 8 verses in Prahlāda's prayers. It should be very clear. And then it goes on something further. Now here's a verse in Queen Kunti's prayers. And if everything works well, there's a recording embedded. So she'll sing. This is Sri Rupa Dasi in Chicago or Chicago suburbs singing, and she has some friends. So you'll hear some music that goes along with the singing. I hope it works. Oh, it didn't work. Oh, wait. Let me try it without this. Can you see the? You can see. Okay, let's see what happens. Something is playing, but we can't hear it. Huh? It may have something to do with what? What? It probably is how it's set. It works well when you have your own system, but when you're on somebody else's system, it doesn't work well. You want to do it? You want to go check? You check it. Go ahead. You check it. Check it. But you can't see it. I don't like this. You should be able to see it. It's something to do with settings in the sound. It should work now. Let's try. Okay, I just I laid the microphone down. I shouldn't do that. She'll sing it twice, so you can sing second time. Janmaishvarya Shutashvir Datum Vai from Kinchana Gocharam. One more time.
Janmaishvarya Shutashvir Naivarhatya Vidhatum Vai Kinchana Gocharam. Janmaishvarya Shutashvir Naivarhatya Vidhatum Vai Kinchana Gocharam.
My Lord, same message. Your Lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot approach you with sincere feeling, which is not the same, but very similar to what Prahlāda is saying here. So these 12 traits or characteristics of a Brahmana, qualities by which a Brahmana can be identified, supposing someone has all of them very nicely in their behavior and their speech and their conduct, but they don't have bhakti. They may be a Brahmana with nice Brahminical qualities, but without bhakti, Krishna isn't attracted. It's not like he disregards them, but it's not the essence that attracts him. The essence that attracts him is bhakti. Just like the Vidura, Vidura's wife offering Krishna banana peels. He doesn't eat the bananas or the banana peels. It's bhakti. That was in Mahabharata. So it's important. It's important for us to follow the vidhis, the rules and regulations that govern bhakti, but that's not the essence. Supposing somebody's really good at the vidhis, that's not the essence. Now, if because like the demigods, they can follow vidhis, or like us, we can follow vidhis, and that's nice. It's not following vidhis is nice. Following vidhis is nice. But that's not what's going to bring the attraction of the personality of Godhead. That's the message of these first 8 verses of Prahlāda's prayers. You know, it's emphasized and re-emphasized from a different angle, and then again from a different angle, and from a different angle. But there's no material qualification. Who knows the Bhagavatam verse? There's nothing material that can start, nothing material that can check the flow of bhakti. Who knows the verse? Canto 1, Chapter 2. Is there such a verse? Savai punksang paro dharmo, yato bhaktir hoksajay, ahaitukiya pratiyata, yatma suprasidati. So, bhakti, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Bhagavatam. Bhakti has no material cause, nor does bhakti have a material impediment. There's nothing material that can start the flow of bhakti. Or there's nothing, if there's a lack of material qualification, that can impede the flow of bhakti. Bhakti has a different path or a different power. And bhakti has its own power. It's not in the jurisdiction of matter. So nothing material can start, nothing material can stop bhakti. Nothing material can stop bhakti. Wait a minute, supposing there's obstacles, then like flowing water, a river, you can build a dam, but after some time, the water is going to flow over the dam, or the dam will break, because bhakti can't be stopped. Rivers can't be stopped flowing towards the sea. exactly like Queen Kunti's prayer, another one of her prayers, that my mind flow like the rivers that flow forever towards the sea, let my mind flow forever towards you. You may stop, build a dam and try to stop the flow of a river. But if the source of the river keeps up, it's going to figure out a way, or the power of the force of the water will overflow over the dam. So they have to have procedures for the flow of the water, and that's one of the things they do for hydroelectric power and so forth and so on. In a controlled way, they let some water flow over something that's going to generate electricity, and that's nice. Taking the flow of a river downstream to generate electricity. That's clever. But you can't stop the water. And similarly, the mind that's attracted to Krishna can't be checked by any impediment. Impediments, yes, but you can't stop bhakti. That's the teaching. It's a similar teaching in different places in the Bhagavatam. These first 8 verses of Prahlāda are emphasizing this one point. So we'll go back. The first 3 verses. I have disqualification, they have qualification. They were unable to satisfy you with their prayers, so who am I? But he went forward anyways because he was asked by Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma is his superior. From Prahlāda's point of view, you're my superior. You've asked me to do something to my capacity, I'll do, but how is it possible? Because streams of very beautiful prayers and verses were spoken, and that didn't do it. And then comes any one of these things, or combination of these things, of what to speak of administrators, even just pure brahmanas. They're not going to. That's not the point of satisfaction. And bhakti is, and using the example of Gajendra, even in an animal, you're satisfied by bhakti, not by power. Or, for 1,000 years they're battling. The elephant is very strong. It's not by his strength or his longevity or his this or that. Because in his previous life, he was a king who was a devotee. He remembered, in that dire circumstance, remembered his devotion. So he made prayers to the personality of Godhead who appeared. And then when he appeared, he offered with it a flower, a lotus from the lake where he was, with his trunk, just offered the flower. What's the flower to Lord Vishnu? He has so many flowers. What's the flower when we offer flowers, what's the big deal? It's not the flower that's the big deal. It should be nice flowers. Should be nice flowers. Fresh flowers. Ideal. Supposing one doesn't have access, you offer what you can. Therefore, Prabhupada said, in our temples, should be, nicely decorated with fresh flowers, because that's what Krishna likes. If there's something else or something else or something else, that's also nice. But fresh flowers. Even if you don't have nice ornaments and nice this and that's, crowns and necklaces and bracelets and ankle bells, and you don't have all those things. Nice flowers, minimum. Fresh flowers. As far as possible. Okay. Any comments or questions on the topic of Prahlāda Maharaj's prayers to Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So about one comment that you said that material things cannot start the bhakti and material things cannot
Generate or start.
But if someone is not materially sufficiently making money, but can it impact bhakti because he's too busy with trying to make ends meet?
So having is not the problem. Not having is not the problem. Distracted is the problem. Distracted because I don't have, or distracted because I have. So the asset or lack of asset is not the problem. There's a tendency, if there's asset, to be proud. But there's also tendency, if there's a lack of the asset, to lament or be envious of those who have. Whatever that have might be, whether it's knowledge or a gift of speaking or, money or something. Then envy of those who have. So the problem is not having or not having. The problem is the contamination of heart. And the contamination of heart is cleared by devotion to the Supreme, not by having less or having more. Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, then with Pranam Maharaj. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I'm just curious that if Nṛsiṁhadeva was not the incarnation of Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva wasn't there, how can there be a Nṛsiṁha Chaturdasi before Prahlāda Maharaj in his scriptures? What it comes up that he was whatever happened on the Nṛsiṁha Chaturdasi, but there weren't.
It's cyclical. Time is cyclical.
Cyclical.
Yeah.
It could be a different day of Lord
Yeah. I mean, the movements of the sun and the moon and the stars in the sky create dates. In the Vaishnava calendar is a way of calculating, and Chinese calendar has another way of calculating, and the Western calendar is just solar. So, by the movements of the moon and the sun and the stars in the sky, in the nakshatras or the asterisms or different languages, the constellations of stars. So that determines the dates. And then time is cyclical.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Maharaja, two quick questions.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, you said there were three important things to note about the incident between Vidura's wife and Krishna. And the first one was Vidura was not in a position to provide, so he was collecting alms.
The other was that Narada was there.
Yes. The other was Narada was there. And what's the third one?
That was the third one.
Sorry. Okay.
No, he was out of station because although he's of the royal family, he didn't partake of the nobility of the royal family.
Understood. Okay.
Because of his mother. And so he did what he did. Although he was married, he did what he did. And he was fine with that. Okay?
The second question is, I'm just trying to get a little more clarity on why Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva was not satisfied by the praises of the other
It's a
demigods.
pastime.
Okay.
Is Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva not satisfied with the demigods? He's satisfied. But he was waiting for Prahlāda. He wanted, and it happened. So, he's not calming down, so you go. Then he calmed down because his bhakti surpasses that of the demigods. He's in a superlative position above the demigods. So that's a demonstration of that. Thus, his anger didn't subside. No, it's a pastime. Because there's the goddess of fortune. Why the goddess of fortune didn't... She was afraid of the roar, his anger. It's a pastime. She knows, but she was manifesting that symptom of being reluctant because of anger. It's very natural. It's like human-like, but she's not human. But, it's a pastime. As if human, she used to behaving Adbhuta Shringa.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, there are 2 online questions by Amani Radha Mataji.
Speak slowly.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, can you kindly elaborate on amplifying our bhakti? Does it mean to increase the bhakti activities or more remembrance of Krishna or something else?
Could you say it slower? I didn't catch it. I mean, somehow I'm able to hear some people, and some people I'm not able to hear so well. You're one of the ones that's not able to hear so well.
Okay.
But I bet I can if you read slowly and articulate clearly.
Okay.
Try it again.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, can you kindly elaborate on amplifying our bhakti? Does it mean to increase the bhakti activities or more remembrance of Krishna or something else?
Well, any one of them. Amplifying bhakti doesn't just mean spin. Move quickly from this service to that service to that service, and that's better bhakti. It doesn't mean go slower either. So it's not the speed with which, or the pace at which. But certainly it can be, but it doesn't have to be. Hey, here's a nice on this note. Here's something that Prabhupada said about japa. It's something that we all do. So Prabhupada's statement was that one should chant japa swiftly, but not so swiftly that you cannot hear every syllable. So what does that mean? For each of us, our hearing capacity is more acute or less. So hear carefully and chant swiftly. So amplifying our bhakti can mean more volume. Here's a little, just in terms of japa, here's a nice example that I'm quite familiar with. In Houston, Texas, Shyamasundar Prabhu for years has been conducting a japa call. And, he's really into it. He gets up at 2:00 in the morning because he has people in India. So he gets up at 2:00 every morning. That means he goes to bed reasonably early. So he gets up at 2:00 in the morning, and he's he's in India now, so it's been a while since I've received these messages, but he used to let me know he would chant his 16 rounds or 32 rounds or 64 rounds in X amount of time, and then divide it up how many minutes per round. And he was then sharing. He's now chanting more slowly, and so it takes longer to complete one round. Is it better to chant more slowly, or is it better to chant more swiftly? So this is on the topic of increasing one's quality of bhakti. So it doesn't just mean speed, or sufficient intensity that one is absorbed. And which one of us can say, the bell rang, I'm sufficiently attentive? I don't think anyone's going to say that. And they may say that. At some point in time, one may say that. But generally speaking, there's no limit to the degree of absorption. So degree of absorption or increasing one's bhakti means qualitative. Yes, Krishna is more in focus, but that means the other things that are other shelters are less in focus. It's just very similar to the discussion we had yesterday about samadhi. Samadhi means one thing and not many things. One thing. Ekanta. Focus of the mind upon the Supreme. Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha krudanandana, from Bhagavad Gita's language. Where there's not many shelters, there's one shelter. But the one shelter doesn't mean you can't look to the left or look to the right. You can see what's going on and be attentive to peripheral vision. But even with peripheral vision, you're focused on one thing. Is it possible? It's possible. But it's possible by bhakti. When there's love, what to speak of the love of the spiritual world between Radha and Krishna, etc. There's not a something else. There's immersion, and while there's other things going on, the other things going on fade in their importance, while that one thing becomes most important. So it's a qualitative. It's not just time, and it's not just quantity of service, or it's the intensity of focus on the object and the emotion of feeling connected with that object as one is engaged in practical activity.
Second question. The Supreme Lord has great affinity for these prayers. What is the significance of these prayers in Srimad Bhagavatam by great devotees? Is it something that devotees are humble and glorifying the supremacy of Lord?
Well, it's not humble, yes, but the humble is a byproduct. All good qualities are a byproduct of bhakti. So humility, yes, but not the essence is not the humility. It's bhakti. What's humility without bhakti? And with bhakti, then humility is a natural byproduct. So it's bhakti, not humility. Okay.
There's one question, Maharaj, by Krishna Mohini Mataji. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, as you mentioned earlier, the different pastimes of the Lord are different because of the different kalpa.
Yes.
So does it mean that in the Nṛsiṁhadeva pastime, Jaya and Vijaya?
Does it mean with the Nṛsiṁhadeva pastimes what?
In every pastime, example, like she gave an example like Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. The question was not clear, so she's asking, does it mean in the Nṛsiṁhadeva pastime, Jaya and Vijaya? That's what she mentioned.
You're mumbling at the end. The punchline is at the end, and you're mumbling. I'm sorry. To respond, I have to hear the question.
So does it mean that in the Nṛsiṁhadeva pastime, Jaya and Vijaya? That's it.
Jai and Vijay?
Yeah.
Does Jay and Vijay take birth as Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyakshaka every time?
Well, how the diversity plays out is diverse. So, a short answer is probably, but another answer is not necessarily. Now, Joe, another way of asking the question is it always or not always that Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu are Jai and Vijay from Vaikuntha realm? Is it always like that or not always like that? That seems to be the question. I have not read anything that is definitive on that question. So it's possible that those personalities, at least in principle, that those personalities had some other origin besides Jai and Vijay. And then one might ask, gosh, that's a very shaky position, being doorkeepers in Vaikuntha. Every now and then you got to take birth in the material world to become a demon or something. It's very impermanent. So not necessarily, but possibly. And I don't know anything definitive in response to that question. Yeah, go ahead.
So in that question, I remember reading Laghu Bhagavatamrita, where it was mentioned it's not that Jai and Vijay fall down every time.
Yeah.
So I don't know the specific verse of the chapter, but I recall reading
Okay.
that in the Laghu Bhagavatamrita.
It makes sense, because otherwise it's very unstable. Who wants to be a doorkeeper in Vaikuntha?
So
Okay.
I have one comment and one
Yeah,
question.
okay.
So while you showed Gajendra story and the other story with Arjuna and Duryodhana, I was also thinking about the pastime of the fruit vendor lady.
About pastime of?
The fruit vendor lady.
The fruit lender lady, okay.
And she comes and she says, does anybody want fruits? And Krishna is a toddler, and he comes and gives the grains, but while he's coming with the grains.
Yeah.
So all that pastime, and then I heard the sequence to that she got the gems and the jewels, and she goes back and she's happy, and then she says she comes back with more fruits, and Krishna says, what do you want now? And she says, you can take the fruits, but I want you to sit in my lap and call me Maya. And Krishna does that, and he calls her Maya, and Yashoda Maya comes out. So that's this is the from a lecture from Radheshyam Prabhu. I was like, yeah, this is what a devotee wants. They don't want the jewels and the gems and everything, but they want the exchange, the rasa between the Lord and the devotee.
Well, having made an introduction, as I did before this morning's class, I would say to Radheshyam, that's poetic. Is there a scriptural source for this? No, the poetic is nice. What's important to the devotee is not jewels. What's important to the devotee is loving affection. And in her case, loving affection is that of a mother. So, put two and two together and it comes up with this nice pastime. I'm personally reluctant to repeat such things, because saying such things, then they get repeated as if they're scriptural, and they may not be scriptural.
Yeah, I didn't give the reference.
So maybe you can write a note to Radheshyam. You brought this up. Is there some scriptural reference for this, or was it just a nice poetic description? Radheshyam said, and it's poetic. That's allowed. Poetry is allowed, but then qualified is not exactly a pastime. It's a poetic expression of what's important for a Vaishnav. Okay.
The question I had from yesterday's class, where you clarified that Haridas Thakur was Richika's son, Brahma, and Prahlāda Maharaj.
Yeah.
So Richika's son here is Jamdagni, who is...
No. Maybe. Maybe not. It doesn't say Jamadagni. Doesn't say. So maybe not. And I researched it a bit before I presented it yesterday, but I couldn't find confirmation one way or the other way. So I just left it because that's what's in Goragona Deshtapika. Okay? Because it could be more than one Richika. Yeah.
So my question is, here Prahlāda Maharaj is saying that Gajendra pleased Krishna by his prayers. Right?
Yeah.
So we know that Gajendra, he was in the difficult situation.
He was a big, difficult, yeah.
Yeah. So crocodile was holding his leg. He fought for 1,000 years.
Yeah,
So,
1,000 years.
so actually, I know there are beautiful prayers by Gajendra. He pleased. But question is, Maharaj, so can we say when we are in difficulty, we can take exclusive shelter of Krishna, and that also is like pure devotion in that case?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. I understand your question. I'm in difficulty. I'm praying to Krishna. Please relieve me from my difficulty. Is that pure devotion? That's your question. Yes. Who's arranged the difficulty? And who can and make a different arrangement? Now, there's another way. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prayer. You can do with me what you like. Yeah. And that's certainly pure devotion. But the other is also, if there's a personal motive, then one can make an argument. Then it's not pure devotion. It's devotion, elevated devotion, but motivated. Please get this crocodile off my leg. Or please save me. Because I'm about to leave my life, leave my body. And then, the attachment is just to be within this body. So one can argue that that's material. And another argument is, so that I can continue to serve you favorably, then it's still, as a condition, as opposed to you can do with me whatever you like.